Today we're going to talk about RJ and his fear aggression that developed. I'd say probably around 10, 11 months old. That RJ became afraid of medium-sized dogs and up. He's always been great with the little ones. And I could tell it was like a fear aggression thing. So then, suddenly, when we're going on walks and he sees another large dog walking, he would get all rah, 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 and start pulling on the leash and acting like he was going to attack. Though he never pulled me. It's not like he really wanted to get to them. He just wanted to act really tough. And I always had control. He never, lunged and got away from me or dragged me. But it was terrible because, when I looked at the fear in the people's eyes, the fear for themselves, the fear for their dogs, I was embarrassed. It was shameful. And it just kept gradually getting worse. I was still walking him, but I'll admit I was trying to avoid other people with dogs. I would walk when I knew there wasn't dogs. And I immediately went to researching different dog trainers and seeing how they handled the situation. My dog trainer guru is Cesar Millan. I used a lot of his training tips. It's like I watched his videos so many times. I knew exactly what I was supposed to do, but I couldn't control the energy inside me. There was a fear and an embarrassment that I couldn't get over. And the tenseness on the leash. When your dog is lunging, you can't help but hold them. You don't want to... When he's lunging, if I let loose, he would go further. So it was like we were sort of stuck in that vortex. And I'm sure a lot of people get stuck in that vortex. The difference in me and Cesar was he was dominant. His thing is you have dominance over your dog. He loves them. He's a great trainer. He does incredible things. But it's his inner energy and attitude that makes it all work. Like, I knew for a fact that if Cesar Millan walked RJ when all this was happening, RJ would have been good for him. Because he has this dominant, safe attitude. Well, when your dog is pulling really hard and acting all fierce, I can't help but tense up. Now I'm embarrassed, I'm worried, and I wonder, is he going to drag me this time? So when he's doing that, I'm not doing this, which you're supposed to do. I'm doing this, I'm pulling back, oh, it was horrible. Well, I went to a lake with my sister, her two dogs, and RJ and Smokey. And my sister had forgotten something in her car, so I was holding all four dogs, and she went to her car. Now, the only reason I think I had control over the situation was because there was a huge log that I was half sitting, half leaning on, because it was so tall that I would have had to put my feet off the ground to sit on it. But I was sort of sitting on it with my feet braced on the ground. And I'm sitting there with all four dogs, all relaxed. And there was a couple walking, I'd say, at least a half a football field away from us with two huskies. I was not tense. I did not even imagine that RJ would freak out on these dogs that were so far away. For one, they looked like they were this tall. But suddenly, RJ blew up, was lunging, snarling, leaping like a colt, bucking, helicoptering in the air, and the only reason he didn't drag me and he didn't get away is because I had that log for a brace and I'm holding it. And so he's jumping and helicoptering at the end of the leash, but we aren't going anywhere. But he is like freaking out. I'd never seen anything like it. I felt like I did have a wild horse on the end that was bucking and fortunately, Bella and Jake were just like in shock. They weren't trying to do anything. They were just in shock, watching, sitting watching. I didn't know at the time, but Smokey slipped his leash and ran away. And I didn't know because I was so involved with trying to control RJ. And in the middle of all his bucking and freaking out, suddenly he gave out the biggest cry yelp in pain and came down, hung his head, and wouldn't move. I was terrified. And Bella and Jake wanted to go up and sniff him, and he curled his lip and snarled at them like, "Don't you even come close to me." He couldn't walk. When I tried to get him to walk, he would move one paw and just start yelping in pain. And during all this, of course, at some point, my sister heard the ruckus, and she comes back, and she said, "Where's Smokey?" And then I looked down, and my leash just has a collar on it and no dog. So I immediately started calling Smokey. "Smokey, Smokey." I couldn't see him anywhere in sight. And then suddenly, here comes my little Smokey running as fast as he can to me. My sweet little boy. He was just terrified of the whole thing and split. But as soon as he heard my voice, he came running. Took him a minute to get there because he had run a bit of ways. So the only thing to do was get back to the car and take RJ to the vet. He had obviously done something horrible to his neck. It was the longest walk back to the car. 1 foot, yelping and crying. Another foot, yelping and crying. I mean, it was a long walk. He could only move his foot like a couple of inches each time, yelping and crying. And by this time, I was crying too. Got to the vet and did x-rays, and I was sure that we broke it. We did something horrible. Well, he did. He yanked and ripped and tore the muscles in his neck. So it was a bit of a, I don't even remember how long of a recuperation time before he was walking normally again. Of course, he had muscle relaxers and painkillers. But once he got back to normal, when I put on his leash, he stuck close to me. It's like he remembered. I think he registered that he did that to himself. But at this point, there's no way I'm taking this dog on walks. There's no way. I have to get control of myself. It's like when trying to correct him, before this happened, I'm trying to correct him. Timing is everything. When I see another big dog coming and I know we're going to have this reaction, okay, I'm not supposed to tense up. I'm supposed to be calm. And I'm going to give him cues. But if you give him the cue too soon, it triggers the aggression. And if you give the cue too late, it's too late. He's already in the red zone and he's not paying attention to you. So finding that sweet spot was hard for me, and it was hard for me not to get tense. It was hard for me not to tense up on the leash. I mean, I think when I even saw another dog, I would squeeze the leash tighter. Even if I didn't pull it tighter, I would squeeze it tighter. And that sent, that energy he sensed, and that would get him all riled up. So that is where the 10-minute sessions were born. It was in my constant research. I saw this one trainer, and I'm sorry, I don't remember. I went through so many trainers on YouTube. I don't remember which one was doing the 10-minute sessions. We lived in a 1-acre, my sister had a 1-acre backyard. She had this one fence line that neighbor dogs, pit bulls, would come over and start fights with the fence between them. And our dogs would go berserk. Everybody would go berserk. Everybody's running at the fence. They're running back and forth. They're snarling and snapping and fighting through the fence. RJ wouldn't listen to me once he was doing that. I would have to go collect him and bring him back. So we started our 10-minute sessions. And the thing that gave me the advantage of learning how to control him when he was acting aggressive like that was the fact that I wasn't scared. I wasn't embarrassed. I knew that we had the safety because of the fence. So I knew nobody was going to get hurt. There was no human on the other side with terrified eyes wondering if my dog was going to kill their dog. So it gave me the calmness. But the most important thing was we were solidifying heel and leave it and all of the commands actually. And we were getting him we were ingraining it. It's sort of like when you first start driving, you have to think about putting on the blinker. But after you've been driving a while, you no longer think about it. Your hand just automatically does it, and you didn't even know you turned on your blinker. At least that's for me. Well, that's what I was trying to get. I was trying to get an automatic response that it had happened so many times, like patterning the brain, that every time I hear heel, I run to my mother. Every time I hear leave it, I completely leave it. So I was trying to pattern his brain. And it actually works. You know, you pattern their brain so that, and that's why now RJ actually comes better to heel than he does any other recall. When he hears heel, get to mother's side. And he probably does leave it better than any dog I've ever known. So that's where the 10-minute sessions were born, and that's why I totally believe in them. Now, I can socialize RJ with individual dogs everywhere, anywhere. But he still has a fear aggression on the leash when we're walking for some reason. But now, I can say heel and leave it and change directions, and we don't have that blow up. He's listening to me. So that's where I'm at with RJ. You know, he's you see this sweet, wonderful dog who's gentle with everything, baby birds, chickens, cats. He's wonderful with everything. But he really had a major fear aggression. And I think he still harbors that, but he trusts me enough, and he's had it ingrained in his brain enough that when I say heel and leave it, he sticks by my side and he turns around and he doesn't have to do all the barking and freaking out. And when I come across someone who is willing, and I explain, you know, the situation, when I come across someone who's willing to let me personally socialize him with that dog, how I do that is I hold him and let their dog sniff his butt. Sniffing butts is a polite thing with dogs. You want a dog to socialize with other dogs. Face-to-face will give a fear aggression dog. They can't handle face-to-face, not when they're in the fear mode. So, but when you have another dog sniff their butt, and then the owner holds their dog, and I let him sniff their butt, the situation relaxes, and it's okay. And if he's calm enough and that dog's calm enough, then I'll stand and talk to that person for a little bit and just have the dogs close to each other, but not in touching distance, so that he can just relax. So that's how I'm working with RJ on his fear aggression, and that's how the 10-minute sessions came to be.